Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds. This is Senne, and this is the second part of the 12 cards one kit that I did. And I'm just gonna unpack a little bit for you again. If you didn't see the first part of this video, then you should go watch it before we go into this one. Now, these were the products that were in the kit. And yeah, let's just jump into the sixth card of the series. Now, I'm gonna be branching out this video a little bit, pulling in some more products since I felt very limited with the ones that I picked last week. So I'm gonna add a few in here. Is the first one. It's light brown scrapbook cardstock. It has this texture to it that is very nice, but the color also complements the pattern papers very nicely. So starting out, I'm gonna do a cream star dotted paper on this brown with a slight border to emphasize it on the card. Before I glue these two together, I'm gonna round the corners. This is the second product for this video. And here comes some sentiments. These are in Danish, and I do like them very much. I use them every year. After remeasuring the card base, I cut a panel for the back in this craft cardstock. And I decide to stamp a sentiment on this star dotted panel, and I'm gonna be stamping it in brown. The color is called Walnut from Fawn, and the sentiments are by a woman named Gittes. She calls it Gittes' own design, and it actually worked better than I could have hoped for, since this is a very slick paper. There was a little bit of distortion, but it didn't show very much, so I went ahead with it, bringing back in the distress ink that I also used in the previous video. And I decided on the twine for this card. Now, my arm getting very close to that's me reaching for my scotch tape. It's hanging on my pegboard, otherwise I just lose it on the table. So I put it there for safekeeping. And since the twine is so thick, I put foam tape on the back of this so it doesn't dent the paper, which is very thin, by the way. And I pulled out some embroidery floss because I'm gonna tie on these jingle bells, and there was no way that twine was gonna get through these tiny holes. So I'm just gonna tie it on with this gold, I would call it a thread, but yeah. Double knot it, and then I'm gonna tie a bow. It's not that visible on the camera, but I promise you in real life it is there. I'm trying not to touch the ink because it might still be a bit wet. It's gonna take a long time to dry on this panel because it's a slick surface, but it does dry in the end. We started out very simple with this card, and I do love it. So let's move on to the next one, which is card number 7. Oh yes, and I'm bringing back in the double pierced rectangles. I also used them in the first video. They are, like I also said in that video, an essential in crafting. Rectangles of any kind, of course, not necessarily double pierced ones, but I like the design on these, so that's why I got them. I do have a lot of layers on this card, and that is because I am starting to see how little paper I actually use per card, so I am daring to use more of this pattern paper, which I think is wonderful. The paper, that is. Also the process, but mostly the paper. I'm gonna cut out the middle of this one, because it's gonna be covered anyway, and then I have an extra panel for another project. That's always lovely. Now I don't like the stickers very much, but I am bringing them back in since it is the main embellishment from this kit. Again, the kit was not made for cards, it was made to make ornaments for the tree. But I don't really like the style for my tree that this pack provides, so I'm gonna make some cards out of it. I did say that in the other video, so I'm sorry if you hear me repeating myself, but that is the reasoning. Now I brought in this cream cardstock that I also used in the other video, because it's easier to stamp on. Like you saw, it just went horribly wrong with the other panel, because the paper is very slick and it sticks to the stamp and distorts the image. So this is much better. The sentiment reads, "Merry Christmas to you and your family." By the way, I forgot to mention that in the earlier card, but that's what it says. And if I use foam tape for this panel, then you won't be able to see a dip in the card where I cut out this inner panel. So that's a trick for you. I'm just gonna fussy cut the stickers so that less of the white is showing. Since the stickers were cut crooked, the border is uneven, so I'm just rectifying it by trimming it down to minimal. And I don't really like the white border anyway. Of all the stickers on this sheet, I think I like the pine cones the best. That's sad, actually. Pretty sad for the stickers, not for me. Because I believe I have good taste. I hope you can hear the irony in this. And we speed on to the next card. Here we go. I decide to use this star dotted paper as the background, gluing it directly to the card, which means it's important to get this straight because you will see if it's crooked. And of course I don't get it straight, but that's the lovely thing about the glue I'm using. It takes a while to dry, but when it does, nothing is gonna separate it from whatever it's holding on to. And I'm gonna be playing around with some more mats and layers for this one. I'm gonna bring in a darker cardstock for the pinecone paper. This one is, so to speak, related to the other brown paper I use. It's the same scrapbook paper, and it has this texture to it, which is very nice for this card. And it actually doesn't take that much to just have that border, but it makes such a difference to the card. And this one accidentally turned out brilliant. It was not the way I was planning it to go, but it just spoke to me during the process, I think. Now the panels were a bit too close in the middle for my taste, so I want to cover it up with something, and it does need a focal point of some kind, so I'm gonna bring back out the nesting circle dies. I also used them in the first video. Here I'm using them again, finding the right sizes to match the border on the other panels. Here we go. And the cream part is the cardstock, not the one from the paper pack, because should have said that earlier, I think. That the paper is glossy and sticks to the stamp and makes stamping hard and drying even harder. So I'm opting for the actual cardstock for this one, and I'm gonna do it crooked. This is so annoying, but I'll find a way to fix it. That's the way we roll. This really turned out nice, don't you think? Second to last card, card number 9. I am really using this pattern paper now, because I am seeing how much I have left. So let's cover this panel with the pine cones. I wanted to get some more use out of these hearts that I wasn't gonna make anyway, so I cut off the end of them, and now I'm playing around trying to figure out how to put them on the card. And once again it turned out very nicely. I'm gonna bring in yet another extra element. It's gonna be a die which makes that banner flag end, because I'm too much of a perfectionist to make them myself by hand. If it gets crooked, I'm just gonna keep cutting, and then I'm gonna have a pile of scraps instead of a banner. So I'm bringing in this die to help me out. I'm gonna bring back out the peel off sentiments. I think the font is very nice and the script for these cards, and especially this tiny circle. This white one worked perfectly, even though you can't see it too well. I do think that it looks nice in real life. Ooh, and see that the star goes flying. Did you make a wish before I picked it up again? Too bad. Now I needed something else on the long strip here. So I opted to try and cut a thin strip off of my peel off sheet. You can actually buy these in crafting boutiques all over, but I didn't have time to go buy one, so I tried to make my own, and it actually worked. I'm very surprised that it worked out. So you can do that if you have these. The first one was crooked, unfortunately, so I had to cut a new one, and I wanted it thinner anyway, so. Onwards to card number 10, the last card for this card kit. I'm looking around at the scraps I have. What can I use? So I'm gonna use this. Oh, it's so beautiful, this bark paper. It's yeah. I love these trees. Unfortunately, I'm allergic to them, and they're all over the country. But they're so pretty. I figured I got to have at least one shaker card, so I'm pulling out these scalloped rectangles, and this one doesn't cut a hole in the middle, so I'm gonna have to pair it with the other rectangles, finding one that fits. So I know the scallops isn't that masculine, because that was the idea with using this card, this kit for cards. It wasn't an actual card kit. It was to make masculine cards because of the color scheme. I figured it would be perfect for it. But I had to have one shaker card. So here is a piece of laminate sheet that I sprinkled white embossing paper on, so it has a bit of texture to it. It was a trend last year for Christmas, and I made a few, and I have them left over, so why not use it now? So, since I wanted to show as much of the pattern paper as possible, I wanted it. I wasn't gonna glue any images or anything inside the shaker. I just wanted to be the bark, the shakers, and the frame, and maybe a focal point and a sentiment. Now the way I built this shaker is ridiculous. I know this. It's been a while since I made one, so I did it wrong. So I take the inside piece of the frame, and then I build the well around it with the foam tape, very thin foam tape, because it has to be hidden behind the frame. So that part I got down, but it got a bit crooked the more layers I made. But I'm gonna hide it. It's not gonna be a problem. What's gonna be a problem is that I put the frame on wonky. That's not so good. I couldn't really fix that part without destroying the card. So I'm just gonna hope that whoever gets this card won't notice. That there was my homemade embossing body. And if you're really paying attention, you saw it twice. I want to make sure that nothing stuck to the inside of the tape. I have the worst luck with that, actually. I am filling up the shaker with this mix from Neat and Tangled. It's called Festive Fall Sequin Mix, and I've had it for ages. And I really like the color combination. I don't know why I didn't use it. Probably because I forgot I had it. Again, I actually found quite a few Neat and Tangled mixes I had in my drawer. I just cleaned out my sequins. I'm gonna hide my little boo-boo with the twine here and the bow, so you don't see the foam tape that's peeking out there. I can't really see it on the picture here when I'm editing, but I know when I was crafting I was closer and I could actually see the tape, and the corner was worse, so that's why I put the little hedgehog there. And also I needed some kind of focal panel for other than the sequence, that is, for my card here. And then a sentiment. The peel-offs are great on acetate, actually, so there's another plus for those. And here are the 5 cards of today, if I can find space for them. And I'm of course gonna show you stills of all the 10 cards I made for this. let's take a look at what I have left over. This is everything, believe it or not. I have a pine cone sheet, a bark sheet, a star sheet. They go in the folder here, so I can use them for something else. Then I have these few pieces of cream. I have quite a few of the parts that was going to be hearts. Also the blue parts of the hearts. Then there are a few scraps of the pine cone paper, some star paper scraps, and this is all that was left of the craft. Actually, that was one sheet, so of course there was not much left, and a tiny bit of bark paper, and quite a few stickers. I have no twine left, but I have a lot of these star stripes. And the things I used extra was the enameled dots, the sequins from Neat and Tangled, the circle dies, the rectangle dies, the scalloped rectangle dies, the stamp set. And here come the rest of the paper. This is what was left of the A4 cream. That's a lot. Then I have a full sheet of the brown, a full sheet of the small brown, and then these few scraps. I have more card bases. I have some laminate left over. The peel-offs left over. I didn't remember to bring out the jingle bells and the golden twine. This was quite the experience, and I'm looking forward to doing the next 10 cards 1 kit video for you, but it's not going to be an actual kit, it's going to be a paper pack, since I don't subscribe to any card kits at the moment, but I would very much like to try it. This here concludes this week's project, and I hope you'll be having a good day, evening or night.